as international standards are concerned, we are not at a position which is actually required for a human being to survive. So certainly we have to do a lot. The scientists and the other environmentalists are working well in this field. A lot has to be done. Today we have with us Dr. Monica Kulshist. Tulji, whether Dishisa has joined?
We have confirmed that he will join now, sir.
He has joined?
Yes, now, sir. No, not now, sir.
Not now. Okay, thank you. Kindly check. If he joins, please.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So today on this environmental meteorology, we have Dr. Monica Jain Kulshrest. She has a very good knowledge being a scientist, chief scientist and professor ACSIR, CSIR National Physical Laboratory. She has more than 24 years of experience in the area of atmospheric chemistry. She has handled various national and international projects in various capacities in the research area of atmospheric chemistry, delivered several invited talks on different platforms, coordinated major events of the laboratory. She has prestigious fellow Indian Geophysical Union since November 2023. She is fellow MSI, member of editorial advisory committee in the Journal of Indian Geophysical Union, guest editor for the special issue on reactive nitrogen, National Bycast Fellowship, International Young Scientist Award. She has 102 publications, a lot of research papers, journal papers, and the book, there are chapters in the book. Ma'am, thank you very much for accepting our request and delivering a talk on this very important issue, which is related with the health of each and everybody. Thank you very much. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. And I have tried to be as general as possible to cover a wide range of audience. So I hope this will be liked by the audience. So good morning to everyone. So shall I start?
Ma'am, please.
Okay, so all right. So good morning, everyone. I'm Monica Kulshrest, presently working as a scientist at CSI National Physical Laboratory. And today I am going to talk about a very important topic, which is environmental metrology. And as all we know that metrology is a science of measurement. And there is a saying that what gets measured gets managed. So before we start our management with the environment, first we need to understand environment. So first of all, we should know what is environment, and then only we can talk about the environmental measurements or environmental metrology. So environment is everybody's concern, and environment is everything that is around us, which is living as well as non-living, right? And in the environment interactions, there are interactions between animals, plants, soil, water, and other living and non-living things. So environment is basically everything around us, and we are very much part of environment. Whether we are having a specialization in the environment or not doesn't matter, but we are all integrated part of the environment. So it is a concern for everyone. So environmental factors, for example, these living things and non-living things, these environmental factors are affecting living and non-living things directly or indirectly. How it is going to happen, that I will explain you later. And environment plays a very important role in the healthy living of human beings. This we all understand very well. And it matters, the environment matters because it is only the only home, because we humans have, and it provides us what? Air, food, and other basic needs of our life. And our means the humanity's entire support system depends on the well-being of the environmental factors. And what are our 5 basic needs? That is oxygen, water, food, shelter, and warmth, right? So exposure to hazardous substances in the air, water, soil, all these things, and food what happens? It leads to natural and technological disasters, and which in turn, in the long term, affects the climate. So that is what we say, that climate change is happening, right? So before we go further in the environmental metrology, we need to understand what are the environmental aspects and what are the environmental impacts. So what is environmental aspect? This is the cause. Any element of the organization's activity, product or services that can interact with the environment. So whatever activity we are doing, that is a part of the environmental aspect. That is the cause which impacts the environment, right? So environmental impact, what is environmental impact? Any change to the environment, whether it is adverse or beneficial. It can be beneficial or it can be adverse, which wholly or partially resulting from any organization's activity, product or services. So one thing is activity, the cause, and other thing is the impact. So like for example, to understand it more clearly, we need to understand what is the difference between the environmental aspect and environmental impact. So example of environmental aspect is like for example, resource consumption. Like for example, for vehicles, we are using our petrol, diesel, that is resource consumption. That is the, and then waste generation. We are doing the activities, we are generating waste on daily basis, like in our household things also, in our offices also, and mostly these days we are also having this disposable kind of things. So every day we are generating lot of waste, right? And then work environment, for example, we are we are producing noise, we are producing different fumes, we are uh, producing like fugitive emissions. Fugitive emissions means, like for example, you are using your printer, so you must have observed there is a kind of smoke which is kind of very lightly you can see, but when on a laser printer when you work, you can just, it is quite visible. And even using the Xerox machine also, you must have seen some kind of emission. So these fugitive emissions, which we really don't take into account, but they are also kind of emissions. Then product packaging is another activity which is a very important part of environmental aspect. And as we talk about the environmental impacts, so we can talk about, like, because of these activities, what is happening when we are consuming the resources, what is happening? Resource depletion is happening. And whenever we are disposing waste or we are generating waste, then what is happening? Different kinds of air pollution, water pollution, land contamination, and noise pollution is happening because of all these activities. Then, for example, like if environmental aspect is the emission of CO, that is carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, then what will be the impact? The air pollution will be the impact, resulting in destruction of fauna. For example, oil spillage is there, so it may lead to the land contamination or water contamination, right? So just to understand, like, what is an environmental aspect and what is not. For example, waste generation. It is an activity. We are generating waste. It is an aspect. Material uses, whatever, like for packaging, we are using the material, that is the environmental aspect. Then fuel uses, on daily basis we are using our fuel, then this is also the environmental aspect. Then air emissions, whatever we are emitting, for example through vehicular exhaust or through industries, that is all air emissions. Then chemical consumption, so like for example we are having pharmaceutical industries which are making medicines and everything. So that chemical consumption is also again the activity. Then energy consumption, we are all using energy. So these are all part of aspect. And what is not aspect? This is like, for example, improve air quality. So it is not impact because it is the process, it is the objective, right? For example, resource depletion, it is the impact, environmental impact, right? So, for example, vehicle maintenance, it is a activity towards improving the air quality. And then water pollution, it is an impact. So we can understand the clearly difference between aspect and not an aspect, right? So now the question comes like whether environment impacts us or we impact the environment. Because many a times we see, okay, there is a lot of air pollution, especially in Delhi these days, somewhere in November, December, we say a lot of air pollution is there. So is it like the pollution is there or we have spread that pollution and which is impacting us? So that we need to understand very clearly. So for example, let us see this slide. The first and foremost example is there is a disbalance between the Earth's capacity and the population. So this is one of the major reasons, because when we fill something with more than its capacity, then obviously there is a chaos. And also, as humans, what we are doing, we are developing a lot of technologies, and that is again impacting the environment. So does it mean that we should not develop the technology? No, it is not like that. We should develop the technology, but that should be environment friendly, right? Then suppose if we look at this graph, we can easily see, for example, from 1800 onwards, and there's like covering this up until 2100. So you can see in developed regions already from 2000 onwards, there is a kind of decline or a stable population growth. But in developing countries, it is still going on, and we are somewhere here at the moment, somewhere 2024, 25. So then still it is growing, and somewhere at like around 2100, it will start stabilizing. This is expected. Then, as we can see from this particular figure, like in 2000 and in 2000 BC, so in a difference of 2000, what happened? In 2000 BC, like minor local environmental damages used to happen, but slowly as population growth happened, so we can see herely like Earth can support about 2.5 billion comfortably. This was the situation in 1950. And after that, as the population growth happened, then what started happening? For example, non-renewable resource depletion started happening. Then unsustainable growth rate, that is starvation, started happening. And then worldwide environmental damage started happening. And recently we have all seen and gone through the COVID-19 pandemic. So here we can now very clearly see that what we call like how, and here this picture says how environment impacts us or impacts our health. But is it true? First, we have impacted the environment, then in turn, environment is impacting us. So for example, air pollution we are creating. Inadequate water and sanitation, because of population it is happening, overpopulation it is happening. Then chemicals, all these factories we are putting on. Then all these radiations, community noise, you can see very clearly that many a times people, they don't require loudspeakers, but still they use loudspeaker for no reason. Then occupational risk, right? The people who are working in factories or at construction sites, you can easily see that. Then agricultural practices, we are putting a lot of fertilizers in the fields to contaminate soil and water. Then built environments, then again construction and activities and road construction activities. So there is again suspension of particles in the environment. then all these things leads to climate change in the long term. So here we can see all these are happening. We humans are doing it. And then we are saying that how environment impacts our health. So now we can understand whether we are impacting the environment or environment is impacting us. So as I said, like in long term, it leads to climate change, and climate change, what it leads to regional weather changes. For example, temperature, heat waves, extreme weather, and changes in rain pattern. And you must have observed, like during this period around few years back, it used to be a lot of cold during this period and fogginess, but nowadays you can see the weather has kind of shifted a little bit. And then you can see the effects on health effects, like for example, temperature related illness, extreme weather related health effects, air pollution related health effects, allergies, water, food and borne disease, vector borne disease, and rodent borne disease. So you can all see, like nowadays this vector borne disease, like it includes all malaria and your dengue, okay, chikungunya, this sort of things you must have not heard a few years back, but now these things are very much into existence. All right, so when we see this picture, what does it indicate? For example, these are like trees, you can see very clearly. And trees are, synonym to our lungs. What happens? There is a very deep relation between the trees and us. How? For example, whatever we are exhaling, trees are inhaling. And whatever trees are exhaling, we are inhaling. So there is an integrated relationship between humans and trees, but still we humans are just cutting them, these trees without any, future prospects thinking. And then we are just making concrete jungles all around us. And this is how the footprint of a human being is affecting all jungles and everything. And this footprint is also popularly known as carbon footprint. And what is a carbon footprint? So a carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases which is produced to directly or indirectly support human activities, usually expressed in equivalent tons of carbon dioxide. Okay, so in this way, we individually can, measure our carbon footprints. So I am giving you some examples. Like for example, when you are driving a car, the engine burns fuel and it creates certain amount of carbon dioxide depending on its fuel consumption and also how much distance you are driving. So then what happens? Then you are generating a carbon footprint. So for example, if a person is using a bus, right, or a public transport, so obviously the combined footprint will be divided by the number of people using that particular public transport. But when we are using a car, again, it depends on how many number of people are traveling in that car. But still, the carbon footprint for car will be more than a public transport. Okay. And when you buy food and goods, the production of food and goods also emit some quantities of carbon dioxide. So your carbon footprint is what? It is the sum of all emissions of CO2. It's not only when you're driving the vehicle. It is sum of all the emissions of CO2 which were introduced by your activities in the given time frame. And usually, what is that time frame? Usually a carbon footprint is calculated for the time period of a year. So in a year, how many activities did you do? And then how did you calculate your carbon footprint? And every one of us, when we try to calculate our carbon footprint, we can always try to reduce our emissions for CO2 in the atmosphere. Okay, so this is just an example. For example, 1 liter of petrol emits 2.3 kg of carbon dioxide, and so on. For diesel and oil, we can just define these things, and then accordingly we can find out our carbon footprint. Okay, and for example, here again, more common examples are there, like each of the following activities. For example, these activities travel by public transportation, for example, train or bus, a distance of 10 to 12 kilometer. So this will release 1 kg of CO2, right? But when you drive your car for a distance of 6 kilometer, so assuming 7.3 liter petrol per 100 kilometer, then again it will generate 1 kg of CO2. But in public transport, you can see it can go up to a distance of 10 to 12 kilometers, and many people are using the public transport, but in a car, very limited number of people are using the car. Chicken, like for example, fly with a plane, operate your computer for 32 hours. Okay. Then production of 5 plastic bags, production of 2 plastic bottles. Like that, even the production of these bottles and bags is also leading to the emission of carbon dioxide. So as individuals, what we can do, we can stop using plastic bags as far as possible. It's not very difficult. When we consciously use our resources, we can always deny these uses of this plastic bags or plastic bottles at our personal level. And obviously, the demand and supply are interrelated. So when the demand is lower, the supply will automatically start happening to the lower side. All right. So what happens? The carbon footprint is a very powerful tool to understand the impact of personal behavior on global warming. So we need to check our personal behavior and more CO2 their activities create. So if you personally want to contribute to stop global warming, you can start calculating and you can start constantly monitoring your personal carbon footprint, which is really, really required by everyone to be done, because environment is everyone's concern, irrespective of the subject, studying it or not studying it. But environment is everyone's concern. Again, I'm repeating it. So in the medium and long term, the carbon footprint must be reduced to less than 2000 kg CO2 per year per person. And this is a maximum allowance for a sustainable living. So we must check ourselves at every moment. And these are just through some model I could find, like these are the figures, like carbon footprint is generated by each and every activity, whether it is like clothing. For example, you go to the market nowadays, what is happening, like we are having 50 pairs of clothes, and still sometimes we say to ourselves, oh, we don't have anything good to wear. So there is a saying that there is enough on this earth for everyone's need, but there is not enough for even one person's greed on this earth. So we need to check ourselves, like whether we are greedy or whether we are needy. So we should take from the nature as per our need, not as per our greed. So we at our own level. Okay, so that should be very much needed. For example, now let me give you some good examples. For example, this is the picture. What is it reflecting? It is reflecting like so beautiful. This is what nature has given us, right? Such a beautiful flora and fauna nature has provided us. Now, if you see the similar picture, what humans have given to the nature. So this is nature's gift to us and what we humans have given to the nature. See, this is what we are giving to the nature. Can you see the contradiction or contradictory pictures? This is humans' contribution to the nature. This is humans' contribution to the nature, which you can see very clearly here. And now this is more pathetic picture. For example, this is how plastic is damaging our earth. So what is happening? It is forming a layer inside. Okay, so what happens, like if we throw plastics, like in my previous picture, if I'm showing this picture, so whenever we are throwing plastic, so remember, this is like whenever soil gets accumulated and it is like, then again something, some plastic is done, like for example, and then what will happen? This layer of plastic will be formed over the years. And what is happening with this? Because of this plastic layer, the water, rainwater, is not able to go down deep down the earth. And that's why the water tables are decreasing these days, right? So there we need to see, and here as an individual, what we can do, we can always stop using the plastic bags immediately. Okay, let us come to the food, for example. So food, what happens when we are having enough food, whether we go to a restaurant, whether we are at home, many times we tend to waste the food. But again, have you ever thought that even this production of this small amount of food has led to a lot of consumption from the environment in terms of water, in terms of efforts, and even wasting this small amount of food can lead to environmental damage. So it's always good, again, at individual level, what we can do. If we want to save this food for another meal, it is good. If we don't want to, we can always give it to our domestic help. And many a times you must have observed that you go to some restaurant, they are also like people, they try to order many things at a time, and then they tend to waste it again. They leave that food. So that again go to a wastage. So there again we can, what we can do, we can just pack it, and then we can either keep it for ourselves, or we can give it on the roadside person who is needing that food, right? So, and even in functions, in marriages, like where we are going in some close gathering, there also, if there is a food wastage, you can always take an initiative, like a group of team of people can gather that food and then can again distribute to the needy people. So at individual levels, we can do a lot of things, right? For example, in Norway country, what happens, there a lot of fruits production, the farmers, what do? They just keep these plastic bags with the full of fruits outside their homes, and whoever wants it, they can just pick that bag. But in our country, maybe that is not feasible, but at least we can take care of the food, what we are trying to waste, right? Then this is the situation of the water, same again. So to protect our environment, we need to take care of food, we need to take care of air. At every moment we can see how can we save this. For example, this is the present situation. We are taking bath leisurely, but maybe in future we may need to take bath like this, probably, if we don't save water. So so what's the solution? For example, In Japan, what happens? They have put a or installed a kind of this basin over that flush tank, so it can be like you and water can be used for flushing. This saves a lot of water. Okay. At our level, what we can do as of now, you can say maybe this kind of arrangement is not available right now in India or something like that. But we should refrain ourselves from any kind of excuses. For example, I think nowadays in India, every household is having the RO water. And as you can say, as you can observe anytime that in household, whenever this RO water is being used, lot of water is being wasted there because there is a side pipe which drains out lot of water. So that water can be collected, that water can be used for household purposes. Even many people, they are having split ACs, and then again there is a drainage system, so you can always collect that water and you can just use it for again some cleaning purpose or something like that. So at every step we should be using our resources very consciously, right? Even electricity, sometimes we just are lazy enough to put everything into sleep mode. So it's good to switch off the, suppose if I'm using a laptop, so I must switch it off before I go to sleep, or so I must be taking care of, like for example, electricity. So if I'm going to other room for a while, so I should be careful about switching off that light. So this kind of conscious living will help to save the environment to a great extent. And we should not think that as an individual what we can do, because there is a saying that boon boon se sagar bharta hai, right? So even a small drop of contribution will lead to fulfillment of an ocean. Okay, so here even like for example these factories and industries, they uh, they again industries, what happens, this leads to the potential contamination, water contamination. So again we need to take care of this water contamination. Then soil contamination, how it is happening? It is happening because of the seepage from the landfill, discharge of industrial waste into the soil. Okay, so rupture of underground storage tanks, so on, right? So we should be careful at every moment. Noise pollution, what is happening? A lot of aircrafts, vehicles, okay, and then unnecessary loudspeaker. So this is also creating a noise pollution, and it is somehow again impacting our health. For example, it is affecting our auditory system, and there are non-auditory effects also. For example, there is loud noise, so you might feel some auditory fatigue or deafness in the long run. And in non-auditory effects, what will happen? Sometimes there is a lot of noise and you are feeling annoyance. Okay, sometimes people they sometimes feel increase in the heartbeat. Okay, then sometimes, okay, if I'm getting a lot of noise and if I want to work, then sometimes I will feel irritated and get my work efficiency will be reduced. So these things we need to take care of the things. So now specifically like coming to the air pollution, so let us focus on this part of it, because nowadays this air pollution has become a very hot topic. So what is causing the air pollution? So environment, the environmental pollution, so it includes the air, it includes the water, and it includes the soil, right? So environmental thing should be addressed on the whole, but when people are doing like specific components, that should be combined together with other components, right? So what are the possible sources of air pollution? For example, motor vehicles. We are running number of vehicles and we are using petrol and diesel every day and we are doing the emissions. Then biomass burning. Nowadays, this parali burning thing is very much into picture, and there are other biomass burning during the winters. Then again, wood burning, especially during winters, people use roadside for heating themselves, for making themselves comfortable. Then coal consumption in the industries, and then biogenic emissions. What are biogenic emissions? Basically, the emissions through plants. Then these emissions, what you must have now these days must have heard the term PM 2.5 and PM 10. All right, so these emissions also lead to the emission of gases as well as these particulate matters. And how these particulate matter are important. For example, if we take PM 2.5, what does it mean? PM 2.5 is the suspended particles in the atmosphere having size equal or less than 2.5 micron, right? And where as this respirable particulate matter, or we call it PM10 particulate matter in the atmosphere, which has a particle size equal to or less than 10 micron. So just to have a feel of it, for example, you can see this is the human hair, okay? And this is like around 70 micrometer diameter. This is a fine sand beach. Like for example, this is 90 micrometer average diameter. Okay. So here, what is PM10? PM10 is this big sphere. In comparison to hair diameter, this is the size of the PM10, that is 10 micrometer diameter. Then further, this PM 2.5 is much smaller. You can see the amplified image here. So this is effect. All right. And these are both emitted by the natural as well as anthropogenic sources. So natural sources we can't stop, but at least anthropogenic means the man-made activities. So man-made sources we can minimize. Okay. And these have increased recently due to industrialization and urbanization, which is happening very rapidly, right? So here you can see like PM10 and PM 2.5. So PM10 includes all these particles. Like if we just compare with the biological components, our PM10 and PM 2.5, why I'm showing here, ultimately what happens, this PM10, when you inhale PM10, because all these particles are available in the air. So right now we are sitting and breathing. So right now also we are having PM10 and PM 2.5 around you. You may not be feeling it, but with the air you are inhaling them. So you have to be aware of this fact that PM 2.5, this is like going up to this trachea, but PM 2.5 that can go deep to alveoles. So you can understand these particles are also affecting our health badly when they are inhaled. So here is the picture. You can see this is the lung and this is a tree. So how this similarity is there, like in the structure. So you can see, like, whatever, again, I will say, whatever we are exhaling out, these trees are inhaling. And whatever these trees are exhaling, we are inhaling, right? So when we are cutting some trees, we should remember that we are basically cutting our lungs. And that is how this picture is in the form of a lung, basically. So these trees are our lungs. And we really need to take care of these trees. So coming to environmental, this atmospheric pollution, what happens mainly due to these vehicles and industries? What happens? This sulfur dioxide emission happens through industries, then nitrogen oxide, oxides of nitrogen are emitted, then SO2 and NOx are emitted through vehicles as well. Then what happens in the atmosphere? This sulfuric acid and nitric acid is formed, and then that drains out in the form of acid rain. Okay. Because it forms H2SO4 in the presence of water. Then there is a saying, no, sorry, not saying, I'm so sorry. I found this interesting, WhatsApp message, for example, on a lighter mode, I would like to say, Earth created group Earth, and Earth added rain, Earth added trees, Earth added animals, Earth added man. Man is now the admin. So what did man do? Man removed trees, man removed animals, and rain left. So this is a bitter truth, but it is true. And there's also one hoarding which I found interesting. Like, for example, the person says, "Dear son, please go to the settings, display brightness and reduce it, and then too hot to handle." Then what son says, "I have not changed settings. Please go to your settings and increase number of trees, reduce carbon emission levels, reduce concrete jungles, increase number of lakes, basically switch to human mode from auto mode." So again, I would say this is we who are responsible for everything, right? Then now I'm going to give the examples. As I said, what gets measured gets managed. So now I will give you example of our real research related to this. How can our research related to, like, for example, now air pollution and atmospheric chemistry research helped in such kind of findings? So how this atmospheric chemistry research is important, that I would like to tell you first. For example, what happens whenever we take this PM 2.5, PM 10, we collect these particles. Then also when we analyze these gases. So what we get, why do we need to do all these things? First thing, we get the information on the chemical composition, what is happening in PM 2.5. Suppose there's PM 2.5, there can be a toxicity level difference. Like, for example, if you take the emission from a day and you take a PM 2.5 collection of particles from a urban area, then you will find a difference that the levels of toxic components are less in the rural areas, right? So this is why we need to have the information on chemical composition of these particles. Then we understand what is the concentration of these components in the atmosphere. Then we get the indication of the consequences of pollutants. Like, suppose if you are getting something too high, so we should be careful about that particular, and we should focus on that particular component rather than taking it on the whole. Then we get the information on the possible sources of air pollution. Then we get the information on the transport pattern, how these particles are getting transported. For example, during November, this northwesterly winds they bring, like from Punjab and Haryana region during biomass burning. What happens? They bring that pollutants towards the Delhi region, and that's why the whenever air gets stagnated, we feel high pollution in these areas, right? Then we also understand the seasonal pattern in different seasons. How do we get? We have 4 seasons like winter, summer, monsoon, and post monsoon. So what is the seasonal pattern of these pollutants? Then what is the patterns of what is the pattern of energy consumption in our country or in that particular region where we are monitoring? Then we also get to know the trends of atmospheric acidity, and we also get to know the information on the transboundary air pollution. What is transboundary air pollution? Like from some other countries or some other states, if we are getting pollution at the monitoring site, we can just find out the information on that also, right? Now, for example, we all know what is pH. So the very basic thing. Generally, what happens? Neutral pH is considered as 7, right? And below 7, it is called as acidic, and above 7, it is called basic. But in rainwater, what happens? We have a pH value, neutral pH value of 5.6. Why it is so? Because there is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and due to that atmospheric dissolution of carbon dioxide into water, that lowers the pH naturally for rainwater. So in atmospheric terms, we call 5.6 as a neutral pH of rain, and below 5.6, the rain is considered as rain, and above 5.6, it is considered as basic rain. All right. So these are the, like, this is the pH of rainwater at Indian sites. Okay. So at Indian sites, you can see most of the sites, or maybe we can say all of the sites. This is alkaline rain. But over Indian Ocean, it is 5.6, below 5.6, which means that over Indian Ocean, the rain is acidic, but over the land in India, it is alkaline. And this is very surprising fact. And when we did research on this, this was very surprising for us that on continental sites, we were getting all pH in the alkaline range, but over Indian Ocean, it was below 5.6. Why it is so? Because it is just adjacent to our country. All right. So here you can say the pH of rainwater. For example, this is India. These are the studies when we did, like all over the Indian Ocean, we had these different cruise, and through cruise, we collected rainwater, and we found out that throughout all these cruises, the acidic rain events were found. And we can see over the land, these were in the alkaline range. Okay. So then we try to find out the reason. For example, in Delhi, we can see the calcium is very, very high. And over the Indian Ocean, calcium is very low. What is the source of calcium? The dust. Okay. So you can see over the Indian Ocean, there is no dust. So what happens? And again, you can see nitrate and sulfate are kind of comparable. So calcium here is able to take care of the nitrate and sulfate. In Delhi, here, this is the example of Delhi where we measured this, but it can take care of the soil or the dust, suspended dust in the air can take care of the acidity part. How it will happen, I will show you next. But here calcium is very low. This is not able to neutralize the nitrate and sulfate levels over the Indian Ocean. Okay. So just to give you a very clear picture of it, for example, industries and thermal power plants, they release SO2 and then it forms sulfuric acid. Then what happens over the land? The calcium is available, right? So the pH here itself becomes less than 5.6 because of the sulfuric acid formation. But then when it reacts with the calcium carbonate, because in the uh, uh, in the air we have suspended dust particles and that contains calcium carbonate, and that calcium carbonate when reacts with H2SO4 that forms the calcium sulfate, which is a neutral component. So which means it is not leading, any rain is not leading to the acidity of rainwater over the land. But in over the ocean, what is happening? Like whatever SO2 and is being released by the industries and thermal power plants. So it is directly like lowering the pH less than 5.6, and it is directly in the form of H2SO4, it is affecting the rainwater, right? So here there is no dust particle available for the atmosphere to neutralize it. So in that sense, we can say that dust is a boon for our country. So next time when you see the dust around you, you should feel happy that it has protected us from acid rain. Now here I can show you the example. For example, how sulfate and pH are varying. For example, this is USA. In USA, what is happening? pH and sulfate, they have inverse relation. So like when sulfate is increasing, pH is decreasing. So because there also you must have seen there is no dust, loose soil is not available, dust is not available, right? In European country, what happened? Again, this is inverse relation. Sulfate is increasing and pH is decreasing. So again, you can see in European countries, again, there is no loose soil or loose dust available. So there you must have read or you must be aware that there are more acidic rain events in North America and European countries. But in our country, you can see even at high pH, the sulfate is also high. Why? Because this sulfate is the calcium sulfate, not the sulfate which we have got in the form of H2SO4. So that is how beautifully the nature has protected us naturally from the acid rain. And here also we can see if we do the sulfate source differentiation further, I won't go into the details of it. Again, we can see this is the crustal sulfate, right? So crustal sulfate is like which is in the soil naturally. You can see it is there. Like this is a rural area, Iqbalpur, this is Delhi Ocean, and this is Hyderabad. All these places we have done our studies, and we can see in Delhi region, this anthropogenic sulfate is high. Then in Hyderabad city, it is high. And in over Indian Ocean, it is relatively low than major cities, but still it is high in terms of because we are not getting enough calcium here. So this is leading to acid rain. But even though at Delhi and Hyderabad it is high, it is like because there we are having calcium available in abundance. So that's why we are able to save ourselves. So with this interesting finding, what we found, acid rain do occur in India, right? But very rarely because there are conditions, terms and conditions. Otherwise, in general, acid rain will not happen. So for example, very rarely we may find some acidic rain events. For example, if rain is continued for a very long time, right? So what will happen? The crustal particles, they will settle and they will not get the chance. Like after they get dried, then only they will again be suspended in the air. So if rain continues for a long time, then you might get few events of acid rain. In vegetation covered areas, for example, you might get acid rains because there again, what will happen? You will not find the loose soil, right? Then in the areas where soil is acidic itself. So for example, there are few reasons in India. Luckily, there are only few reasons. I will show you further. There, the soil is acidic itself. So if even if the soil particles, they get suspended in the air, they will not lead to the neutralization of your rain or acid rain, right? And again, there is a possibility of acid rain near the heavy sources of SO2. For example, thermal power plant. So in just immediate vicinity, there the concentration of sulfur dioxide is very high. So there is a possibility that neutralization may not occur that effectively in those areas, right? So now I'm going to show, now this is the picture where like actual measurements have happened. Now let me show you. Like over Indian Ocean, as I have explained you very clearly, you can see the percentage of acid rain is nearly 100%. Like why it is nearly 100%? Because near the coastal area, one or two events might be little, like for example, Goa is there. So dust cannot travel far away. So might have needed two events, but it is like basically acidic. There's no industry over Indian Ocean, okay? But still you are getting the highest acid rain. Then you see a reason Jorhat. Jorhat also, we have done our studies, and there we can see the nature of soil is acidic there. That is why we are getting acidic rain events more, but there is no industry over here again, right? Then Nandankanan in Orissa, again, you can see high events because of the similar reason. Then Panipat and Sardana, you all know are industrial areas, they are relatively high events. Then in comparison to Delhi, in comparison to that, if you see Delhi, you can see it is relatively less acidic. Then Hadgade, again, it is a vegetation covered area, although it is a rural area, but it is vegetation covered area. No direct, I mean, no loose soil is available here. So there also you see acidic events. Then Bhubaneswar, again, acidic soil. Then Hyderabad, you can see the urban area. But when you see in comparison, the area where soil itself is acidic or there is no availability of soil, you get these acidic rain events very high, right? So we can say the abundance of these suspended soil dust is the boon for our country, as I have mentioned to you, and it controls the acidity of rainwater in India. And higher pH of rainwater is observed at higher sulfate levels in India. It is due to the fact that sulfur dioxide is oxidized onto the dust particles, forming calcium sulfate, which further is removed by the rains. I have shown you that pictorial picture, and that might have cleared all these points to you. So basically, our studies have suggested that there is no threat of acid rain in India in near future. And I remember that in 90s, there was a model from Greg Carmichael in that was Rains Asia, and according to that according to that Rains Asia model, what I remember is that there was a kind of prediction by using that model that in 90s that there might be a black acid rain in 5 to 10 years in India, because in that model, that crustal sulfate, this calcium sulfate was not considered as neutral weight, because it is high, but still it is not contributing to the acidity. So that was a kind of wrong prediction, because why I said like what gets measured, gets managed. And our studies, because we did all these measurements so accurately and so precisely, that we could save our countries from this. Otherwise, there could be a possibility of bans to industries or any other kind of emissions. So we always need to do all these measurements, and reliability of these measurements comes through metrology, right? So the study of scavenging process in wet deposition in Indian region has helped in strengthening our understanding about the acidification potential of different parts of India. And these studies have suggested us not to ignore regional factors while comparing with the global scenarios. So this is also very important to understand that, okay, there in other countries, whatever is happening, because many times I have observed this young generation, they try to use the models from other countries, but that may not fit our situation in India. And this is one live example and one scientific example of this situation. Like whatever acid rain events they are observing in North American region or in Europe, we are not observing because of our, uh, you know, uh, because of our mechanism of saving of ourselves, like because this dust is naturally saving us. So that our situation is totally different what is theirs, right? And then just I want to quickly tell why there is more acid rain events in northeast and southwest, which I have told her. I have given you the example. For example, I have given you the example of this uh, Jorhat and Nandan Kanan in this area, and southwest is like this Hadgade, where is no industry, but still there is a rain event. So let me explain you very quickly. For example, northeast side, so Jorhat, it shows mainly the rural characteristic. It has tree gardens and paddy fields in the surrounding, while southwest side, Hadgade is situated in western Ghats in a reserve forest area with no industrial activity. All surroundings are green. So these are the site characteristics. But what is happening? Now you can see the soil map of India, and here you will get to know. See, uh, mountain soil, the pH is high. Then alluvial soil is again this pH is, this is the pH range. Then red soil, again the pH is high. Then black soil, this is high. This again, you can see laterite soils, which is like 5.2 to 5.8, which is acidic range. Because, and fortunately, you can see the small patches here, no? They are in very limited regions in India. So mostly we are having the alkaline soil. We are one or two reasons, and that are very few reasons. And in the southwest western Ghats, I have shown you here the acidic rain because of this, because the soil itself is acidic. And the northeast region, again the soil is acidic. So soil is the mirror image of our rain acidity. So here you can see the percent frequency of distribution of pH at northeast side. In Jorhat, you can see it is like more than 50%. You can see acidic rain events here. Only few events are in the alkaline range, but mostly it is in the acidic range. Then in the southwest side again, you can see, although there are fewer rain events, but you can see here, there are a lot many acidic rain events. Now, this is like one part of this related to rain. And all of us, we celebrate Diwali with a great enthusiasm and with a great happiness. But the problem is that Diwali was never a festival of crackers, firecrackers. But still we feel happy in burning all those firecrackers. And here, when we observe these things at Delhi, so you can see how many times higher all these components get injected into the atmosphere forcibly every year. And these particles, though they get settled immediately after 2 days, but again, the problem is that these will further contaminate our these will further contaminate our atmosphere as well as our soil as well as water bodies. So Diwali was always a festival of
All are requested to kindly switch off your mics, please. I'm sorry. All are requested to kindly switch off your mics. Thank you. Please continue, ma'am. I'm sorry. Please continue.
no problem. So you can see how much and different contaminants, pollutants we are injecting every year during Diwali. And we are contaminating our soil system, we are contaminating our water bodies because definitely they finally get settled on these water bodies and soils. And to that extent, like because many people during Diwali, there might be old people, there might be, infants in the household, and there might be asthmatic people. So do we take care of them? So Diwali was always a festival of celebration for uh, uh, for like for example, it's a festival of lights and sweets, not a festival of firecrackers. This firecracker industry has just emerged over the years, so which needs to be discouraged, and we need to be more careful about our environment, right? So with these two examples, you must have understood that what is the importance and how can we be a part of this environment and what we can do individually, because everything we put onto the government. Okay, government is not doing this thing, government is not doing that, and that is not the correct thing to say, because as individuals, what way we are contributing to the environment. And here, for that, I would like to make you aware that Constitution of India, Article 51A, says in fundamental duties, it is fundamental duties, not right. In fundamental duties, what it says, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India. So 51AG, what does it say? It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So it is our fundamental duty, not right. So we have to perform all these fundamental duties at our own individual levels to make our country a better place to live, right? And here I just want to give just few examples because this attracted my attention because of this message actually. Here it says every worm, every insect, every animal is working for the ecological well-being of planet. Only we humans who claim to be the most intelligent species here are not doing that. All right. Again, there is a message. Your life is not an individual existence. What you exhale, the trees are inhaling. What the trees exhale, you are inhaling. So if this was in everyone's experience, would we have to tell you to plant and protect trees, right? So with this, one more thing I would like to tell you, like some people, they might find it difficult. Okay, who will, sow the tree and this thing. So there is an easy way of doing that because there's a concept called beach balls. So here in beach balls, what we do during the rainy season, what we do, we take some clay, we take some manure, and we just make a kind of sort of small cake out of it, like, and then we can put seed into it, and then we can throw these balls here and there in nearby areas where other plants are there. So you will not need to do anything. So whenever rain comes, it will just, that seed inside that will start growing automatically, and it will take its own position. So you don't have to do much efforts to specifically go with your tools and everything and just sow any plant or trees or any seed into the environment and to make it better. So these simple things you can do in your life, if you want to take the initiative for that, right? And and social inclusivity will lead to sustainable development, because green economy is addition of all these things, and it is the like environmental, social and economic responsibility for each and every one of us to do that. And we all should, or not should, I must say, we must work towards the sustainable development goals. We should be aware, or we must be aware of all these goals, like for example, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable clean energy, decent work and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, then climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions and partnerships for the goals. So knowledge what she with you all, probably these goals must be now very clear to all of you. And I hope with this, you will make an effort, or all of us will make an effort to save the environment, to save ourselves. Okay, so we don't need to save the environment for saving anybody else, but to ourselves. So we all need to take care of the environment. All right. Thank you. With this, I just close my talk.
Thank you very much, ma'am. This is very important topic for in this current scenario. Environment, to save environment is the responsibility of each and every human being. I would like
Yes.
you to kindly unshare your presentation so that we can take few photographs of all the participants to put it on our website as well as other social media platforms. With your kind permission, your presentation will also be shared with all the participants, as well as we will also share this video on our YouTube channel as well as other websites and the social media platforms.
Sir, excuse me, sir. This is Prem Kumar.
Please.
I have something to speak.
Please.
Hello. Sir, how could we download the certificate from the site? I am not understanding. When I click onto the link, it is asking for the login password or something. We haven't been created till now the password or anything.